what's happening around the world
and what's happening here at home. Good evening and a very warm welcome to Primetime News on TV1. Bringing you the news for the Newsfirst team, I'm Thiruni Karnaratna.
And I'm Sandra Ferdinando. Let's take a look at your headlines for tonight.
President introduces proposal to cabinet to address presidential term discrepancy. Bill to be presented to parliament. The person who filed the petition to court to delay the election is affiliated with the SJB, alleges UNP's General Secretary. SJB responds with challenge to prepare for the election. Multiple factions file intervening petitions on FR filed to delay the elections. Damika Pereira ready to enter presidential race. SLPP decision awaited. Don't rush. Candidate will be announced at the appropriate time, says Mahinda Rajapaksa. Dayasiri goes to SLFP head office to assume role of General Secretary. Entry restricted. UK gets a new Prime Minister.
In a top story for tonight, President Ranil Wickremesinghe said he has notified the Election Commissioner that the presidential election must be held on the scheduled date.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe informed the Mahanayaka of the Ramanya Mahanikaya, Most Venerable Makulave Vimalatheru, that he had informed the Election Commissioner of the need to hold the presidential election on the scheduled date. The President visited the Sri Lanka Ramanya Mahanikaya headquarters this afternoon in Alvitigala Mawatha, Narahen Pita. There he had a brief discussion with the Chief Prelate of the Ramanya Mahanikaya, Most Venerable Makulave Vimala Nayakathera. During the visit, Most Venerable Makulave Vimalathera chanted Setpirit, bestowed his blessings upon President Ranil Wickremesinghe and presented him with a commemorative gift. UNP General Secretary Palitha Range Bandara said that the President submitted a proposal to the Cabinet last Monday to address the discrepancy arising from the President's tenure being stated as 5 years in one context and 6 years in another in the 19th Constitutional Amendment. Speaking at an event in Madhavachya on Friday, Range Bandara said that the relevant bill will be submitted to the Parliament in the future. What argument has been raised regarding the presidential term? The debate surrounding the presidential term centers on the 19th Constitutional Amendment, which revised Article 32 of the Constitution, reducing the President's term of office to 5 years. However, Article 83B of the Constitution stipulates that any extension of the President's tenure beyond 6 years by amending Article 32 requires a two-thirds majority and a referendum. The current contention arises from the dual references to the President's term in different sections of the Constitution. To address this ambiguity, the United National Party's Secretary General Palitha Range Bandara announced today that a legislative amendment will be introduced to the Parliament in the near future.
What is the issue at hand? During the amendment of the Constitution under President Maithripala Sirisena's tenure, there arose a discrepancy where the amendment was referenced as 5 years in one instance and 6 years in another. This inconsistency between 5 and 6 terms needs to be addressed. The President recently presented a proposal to the Cabinet to resolve this matter, and a bill will subsequently be submitted to and deliberated by Parliament in the near future. Additionally, amidst this context, discussions on potential election postponements have surfaced.
Earlier this week, Chamindra Dayan Lenaba filed a fundamental rights petition in the Supreme Court, highlighting a discrepancy in the 19th Amendment, noting that Article 32, which pertains to the term of office for the President, has not been amended in accordance with Article 82(6) of the Constitution. Article 82 of the Constitution addresses the process of constitutional amendments. The petition emphasizes that failing to adhere to Article 82(6) during the amendment of Article 32 violates the sovereign power of the people and the constitution itself. Chamindra Dayan Lenavar requested the Supreme Court to issue an interim order postponing the presidential election until a decision related to this petition is delivered. In response, Sri Lankan President Ranil Wickremesinghe issued a statement noting that he firmly believes that the president's term is 5 years. The statement added that the president supports the Election Commission's decision to hold the presidential election in 2024. It added that the president's faction has no link whatsoever to the petition that was filed with the Supreme Court.
SJB's Nalin Bandara responded to the allegations raised by UNP's Rangi Bandara.
After filing the petition, they had faced a ridicule. Now, they are trying to link this person called Lenavar with the SJB. Simply because Rohan Pallewatha joined us, they cannot link it to us. Rohan Pallewatha did not come with the party. He joined us alone. They are claiming that he is part of this national list narrative. This is from the 2019-2020 United National Party national list, which includes Sugat Chandrasekhara. Even though Sugat Chandrasekhara was on this national list, he supported Sajith Premadasa in the 2019 election. So, we can also say that Sugat Chandrasekhara was one of our supporters on that list. Harin Fernando from the SJB national list is with the UNP today. Therefore, this is a third-party case related to the national list in the past and has nothing to do with us. So let's not make foolish jokes. Get ready for the election immediately and aim for at least 10%.
Despite accusations from the United National Party against the Samagi Jana Balawegaya, Ranjit Madhuma Bandara, the General Secretary of the SJB, via an interim petition filed before the Supreme Court, highlighted that the presidential term will conclude this year.
Ranil Wickremesinghe is not an elected president. The people of this country refused to send him to parliament. Despite this, they are attempting to postpone the election, knowing he cannot win. How are they doing this? He tried to become the common candidate with the Podujana Peramuna and aimed to delay the election. His strategy was to claim that the country was out of bankruptcy to gain a majority in parliament, but he failed. Now the latest tactic is to go to court, trying to extend his term from 5 to 6 years. The office of the president has issued a statement that the president will accept a 5-year term. However, Lenavar has filed this case out of personal interest, raising questions of credibility. Filing a case requires significant investment. Does anyone believe a businessman took this burden independently without support? Previously, Palitha Bandara made a similar attempt. The General Secretary of the United National Party isn't just any person. He represents a major political party. Does anyone believe he would take such a decisive step without the party leadership's approval? This action is undoubtedly backed and approved, indicating an orchestrated effort.
Meanwhile, several other parties, including the NPP's Vijitha Herath, Dr. Harini Amarasuriya, Eranga Gunasekara, former IUSF convener Wasantha Mudalagi, filed intervening petitions to the petition that was filed seeking to postpone the presidential election. The petitioners argue that Article 32 of the Constitution has been amended by Chapter 3 of the 19th Amendment. They add that the president's term has been reduced from 6 to 5 years, and they claim that the current president's term will end this year.
This
petitioner had filed a similar petition in 2019 requesting the Supreme Court to postpone the election by 1 year. The petition was rejected. At the same time, Maithripala Sirisena sought to convert 5 years to 6 years. That too was rejected. Against such a backdrop, a new application has been filed. The petition includes 2 requests. One is for an interim order to be issued until the petition is heard, and the second is, regardless of Article 32 of the 19th Amendment, the Supreme Court should review this petition and make a decision as if that article does not exist in the Constitution. We would like to ask him to show us the constitutional provision that allows to challenge a law that has been endorsed by the Speaker with a certification.
CD Lenavar's petition is scheduled to be heard next Monday before a 5-member bench headed by the Chief Justice.
NPP leader Anura Kumara Dissanayake expressed these views while addressing the Nikkavaratiya Farmers Conference today.
The UNP General Secretary Range Bandara says that this has been discussed recently in a cabinet meeting. One area of the constitution states the term is 5 years, while another says the term is 6 years. This is a significant issue. They apparently intend to make a bill addressing this issue and introduce it to Parliament. Upon passing of the bill, Ranil's term will be 6 years. None of that will happen. There is no time for bills. It needs cabinet approval. Then after a week of being gazetted, the bill must be introduced to Parliament and 2 weeks must be given for that process. If someone files a petition challenging the bill, that should be given another 3 weeks. When that whole process comes to an end, the presidential election will also be over.
The Election Commission will be empowered to proclaim the date for the presidential election in 12 days.
MP Dayasiri Jayasekara attempted to enter the Sri Lanka Freedom Party head office premises earlier in the day after the court lifted the order preventing him holding party membership and the post of General Secretary. However, the police denied permission and Jayasekara subsequently announced that he would assume the role of General Secretary within the party starting today.
Police security was deployed at the Sri Lanka Freedom Party headquarters on Dali Road in Colombo from this morning, and anti-riot teams were also called in. A group of Sri Lanka Freedom Party members had been waiting near the SLFP headquarters since this morning, expecting the arrival of Dayasiri Jayasekara.
එතකොට මේ ප්‍රජාතන්ත්‍රවාදී අනුව අද එතුමට අධිකරණ නියෝගය අනුව ඇතුළට යන්න පුළුවන්ද? වැඩ බාර ගන්න පුළුවන්. වැඩ බාර ගන්න විදිහක් නැහැ. ඉබියතුරු දාලා මම වහලා තියෙනවා. දැන් ගියපාර බලහත්කාරයෙන් ඉබියතුරු දැම්මට පස්සේ අපි පැමිණිල්ලක් දැම්මා මරදාන පොලිසිය. ඒ ඔක්කොම පසක තියමුකෝ. දැන් ගරු අධිකරණයේ මහා ලේකම්වරයා එදා සිට අද දක්වා අත්තිඩොපු දවසේ ඉඳන් අද දක්වා යාවත් කාලින කරන මහා ලේකම්වරයාට වැඩ කරන ගරු අධිකරණයේ බලය දීලා තියෙනවා. අධිකරණ නියෝගයක් තියෙනවා. ඒක ඔබතුමාලා අධිකරණ නියෝගයට ගෞරව කරන්නේ නැත්නම් අධිකරණ නියෝගයේ කිසිද බාධාවකින් තොරව කියලා.
පොලිසියට පැමිණිල්ලක් ලැබිලා තියෙනවා. මේකේ අපි දන්නේ නැහැ තුමාලට දයිති ඔබතුමාට අයිති කියලා අපිට කියන්න බෑ. ඒ අධිකරණ නියෝගේ තියෙනවා. අධිකරණ නියෝගේ තියෙන එක අපි පිළිගන්නවා. ඒකමෙට කටයුතු කරන්න කියලා පිළිගන්නවා. ඒකක් තියෙනවා. නමුත් මේකේ කවුරු හෝ පාර්ශවය ඔබ හෝ මෙතුමා හෝ කවුරු හෝ අපි දන්නේ නැහැ ලොක් කරලා තියෙනවා. පැහැදිලිද? අපිට ඒව කඩාගෙන ලොක් කරන්න පොලිසිය ඉදිරියේදී හැකියාව ඉද දෙන්න හැකියාවක් නැත. සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම ආණ්ඩුවට පක්ෂ නෑ නෑ එහෙම කියන්න බෑ. එහෙම කියන්න බෑ. අපි කරන්නේ කාමයේ එහෙම කියන්න බෑ. හරිද? මේකේ පාර්ශව දෙකක් තියෙනවා. පාර්ශව දෙකක් අතර ප්‍රශ්නයක්. ටීම් දෙකක් ඇවිල්ලා ගහ ගන්නවා කියලා අපිට තොරතුරු තියෙනවා. ඒ සම්බන්ධව පැමිණිලි තියෙනවා. එතකොට මේක ගහ ගන්න දීලා අපිට පැත්තක වෙලා ඉන්න ආණ්ඩුවට කඩියාවක් නෑ. අපි පුදුමාලට යතුරක් තියෙනවද මේක අරගෙන යන්න. ඔව්.
Dayasiri Jayasekara arrived and opened one of the gates of the party headquarters with the party members, but the police did not allow them to enter the office. Dayasiri Jayasekara and the rest of the party pasted a copy of the court order at the entrance of the party headquarters. Then he climbed onto a small lorry and signed a letter announcing that he would resume his duties as the party General Secretary.
මතක තියාගන්න මේක වලක්කපු නිවාසිනි පාසිල මැතුමා ඇතුළු අනිත් සියලු දෙනා මේකට වග කියන්න ඕනේ උසාවියට අපහාස කිරීමට විරුද්ධව මතක තියාගන්න. පොලිස් කාර්යාලයවම ඒ දොර අරනවා.
තුමා අද පසුබැස්ස තයිම පසුබැස්ස මේ
පසුබැසින් නෑ මේක හොඳයි අපිට.
Dayasiri Jayasekara also engaged in a discussion with the Maradana police station chief before leaving the premises.
දැන් බලන්න අර මිනිස්සු ඇතුලේ. ආයි ඇතුලේ නේද තවම යොමු ගන්න ඕනේ. ගන්න ඔයාලයි නෝන්නේ. මේක දාන විනාඩියක් කරලා ප්‍රොජෙක්ට් ආව වෙනවා. ගාඩ් එක. පරසයනේ 156 කරා වෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඒ 56 පැදිලා ඉන්නවා. ඇසෙල්ලා ගත්තේ අපි කියන්නේ සර්වර් අල්ලු කරා. සර්වර් අල්ලු කාරිලා ඒ 56 ඉන්නේ පැදිලා ඉන්නවා.
Thereafter, the group left the premises. Member of Parliament Duminda Disanayake responded to parliamentarian Dayasiri Jayasekara at a press conference held today.
Dayasiri Jayasekara මැතිතුමා ඔබතුමාලා දන්නවා මානුෂික
You all know that Dayasiri Jayasekara has submitted forms to the Election Commission as the leader of the Humanitarian People's Front or Alliance. When he is acting as the leader of another party, he cannot be a member of the SLFP. That is why the chairman of the party, through the powers vested within him, temporarily suspended Dayasiri Jayasekara's party membership. He has been given 7 days to give reasons. How can you assume duties on the road? He should now focus on giving reasons to the party about his actions before the deadline. I have the keys. Nimal Siripala was appointed as the chairman of the SLFP by the executive committee by giving due regard to the party constitution. The secretary duly appointed was Duminda Disanayake.
පත්වෙච්ච සභාපතිවරයා නිමල් සිරිපාල සිල්වා මැතිතුමා පත්වෙච්ච ලේකම්වරයා දුමින් සානායක.
Now, businessman and member of Parliament Dhammika Pereira said that he is ready to contest the upcoming presidential election. However, he said that the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna should decide on his readiness to run for office.
The Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna Trade Union Office was inaugurated at Rossmead Place, Colombo 7 earlier today. SLPP National Organizer Nama Rajapaksha and General Secretary Sagar Karyavasam also attended the ceremony.
I am ready for the presidential election. However, the biggest political party in Sri Lanka must determine who their candidate will be. I am awaiting the decision of the party. I am also engaging the necessary work to secure a win at the election. In addition, I am also working on the program to recover the economy. If I get on stage, I need to outline my plan to develop the economy. Therefore, I am preparing a program for that. It is up to the SLPP who the candidate will be.
ශ්‍රී ලංකා පොදුජන පෙරමුණෙන් ඔබතුමාව යෝජනා නොකරන්න යම්කිසි මොන හරි කාරණා පැහැදිලි කිරීම කළා තියෙනවද මේ මොකද උන්ගෙන් අහුවාම තාම හරියට පැහැදිලි පිළිතුරක් ලැබෙන්නේ නැහැ. මට තියෙන ප්‍රශ්නේ ඒ කියන්නේ දැනට මිස්ටර් ධම්මික මෙන්න මෙහෙමයි අපිට ඔබතුමාව දැනට සිලෙක්ට් කරන්න බැරි මෙන්න මේ කාරණාව එහෙම මොන හරි දෙයක් නෑ එහෙම නෙමෙයිනේ කරලා තියෙන්නේ පක්ෂයේ ප්‍රතිපත්තිය දීලා තියෙනවා. ඒක ඇත්තටම ප්‍රතිපත්තිය ඇතුලේ කන්ඩිෂන්ස් 10ක් තියෙනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ කන්ඩිෂන් 10ක් කියන්නේ ප්‍රතිපත්තිය ඇතුලේ ලියලා තියෙන විදියට ඒක හදාගත්ත ඒ කියන්නේ කොන්දේසි තියෙනවා 10ක් විතර. හැබැයි 10 ප්‍රතිපත්තිය ඇතුලේ තියෙනවා. ඒ කොන්දේසි 10 මම එළියට හයිලයිට් කරලා මම එළියට අරගෙන ඒ 10ම වැඩ පිළිවෙල ටික හදාගෙන යන පොද කොවිලාක හරි පක්ෂයෙන් අපේක්ෂාත්‍ය දෙනකොට ওই කොන්දේසි 10 තියෙන ටික රෙඩිද කියලා මගෙන් අහයි කියලා මම බලාපොරොත්තුවක් තියෙනවා. මම පොදුජන පෙරමුණේ සමාජිකයෙක්. මම පොහොට්ටුවේ සමාජිකයෙක්. මම පොහොට්ටුවේ පාර්ලිමේන්තු මන්ත්‍රී කෙනෙක්. මම පොහොට්ටුවේ හිටපු ඇමති කෙනෙක්. දවස් 16ක් ඇමතිකම් කරා. දවස් 10යි ඔෆිස් එකේ වැඩ කරේ. මම ඒ දවස් 10ට වැඩ කරලා පෙන්නපු කෙනෙක්. දවස් තාම 90ක් තියෙනවා. ඉතින් දවස් 60ක් විතර වෙනකොට මම හිතන්නේ පක්ෂෙත් මේ වැඩ පිළිවෙලට එයි කියලා.
Why is the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna late to present its candidate?
අපි ඉගෙන සාකච්ඡා කරනවා. තාම තියෙන දෙයක් නෑ අපි සාකච්ඡා කරලා අපේක්ෂකේ දානවද නැද්ද? අපි වෙලාවට දෙන්න. එයාලා ඉතින් දැම්මම අමුඩ ගහ ගන්න ඕනේ.
Is the Podujana Peramuna united regarding the presidential candidacy? State Minister Lohan Ratwatte believes the current president should be given another chance.
මම උදව් කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ අපේ රට වැටුණු ආඝාතයෙන් එළියට ගත්තු හොඳ වැඩපිළිවෙලක් තියෙන ඉදිරි අනාගතයේදී ශ්‍රී ලංකාව ගොඩ ගන්න පුළුවන් කටෙන් බතල හිටවන නැති නායකයෙක්ට.
නාමල් රාජපක්ෂ මහතා විශේෂ සාදර කාර්යවසම් මැතිතුමා ප්‍රකාශ කළා තිබුණා රනිල් කීසිංහ මහත්මයාට පොහොට්ටුවේ සමාජිකත්වයේ අරගෙන આવොත් අපි උදව් කරනවා කියලා. ඔබතුමාත් ඉන්නේ මතේ.
පොදු ජන පෙරමුණ කියන්නේ සාගල කාර්යවසම්මත් නාමල් රාජපක්ෂවත් නෙවෙයි. අපි ඊටාම විශාල සංවිධානාත්මක පක්ෂයක්. අපේ පොදු තීරණයක් ඒගොල්ලන්ට තනි තීරණයක් හැටියට කියන්න බෑ. තාම අපිට එහෙම පක්ෂයක් හැටියට කිසිම මඟ පෙන්වීමක් කරලා නැහැ. ඒත් ටිකක් හරි සිහිබුද්ධියක් තියෙන ශ්‍රී ලංකාවට ආදරය කරන දේශපාලනඥයෙක් හැටියට ශ්‍රී ලංකාව ඉදිරියට ගෙන යන්න පුළුවන් නායකයෙක්ට තමයි මම නම් මේ සැරේ වැඩ කරන්නේ. පක්ෂ ભેදයකින් තොරව. ඉතින් රට ඉදිරියට ගෙන යන්න පුළුවන් නායකයෙක් අපිට පෙනෙන්නේ කොටින්ම කියනවා රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මහත්තයා විතරයි.
Former Deputy Minister Sarana Gunawardena stressed that the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna must present a candidate.
Someone must be presented. The party includes people with a wide range of experience such as former presidents, prime ministers, those who have helped develop the country and those who played a role in ending the war. When there's so many, why can't they present a candidate? These so-called powerful ministers are in power because Mahinda Rajapaksa brought them to power. Some ministers are facing a challenge of even visiting the people of rural Sri Lanka. Some of their houses were even set on fire. Was my house set on fire? I am from the Pohottua too. We support Mahinda too. Some ministers are just in need of protecting their ministerial portfolios. Those who blamed Ranil Wickramasinghe for the bond scam are now praising him. What a joke. Someone with shame would never do that. We are not the ones who called Ranil Wickramasinghe the thief. It was his own cabinet ministers who did so. Have I? No. My doubt is how their position suddenly changed.
Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa highlighted that the people should have proper knowledge and understanding about the Sri Lanka's constitution and policy formulation.
All citizens, including children, should have a good understanding of the country's constitution. Without awareness of the powers of the president, the legislature and the judiciary, as well as the rights of people outlined in the constitution, influential people may exploit this lack of knowledge and act in their own interests. We need to move beyond the era where policymakers make decisions based on personal agendas. Instead, we must embrace a program of community participation, fostering community-centered and community-led decision-making for the benefit of the society.
The opposition leader expressed these views today while participating in a program to provide smart classroom equipment to the Avissawella Ilukpitiya Junior School under the 289th phase of the Sakwala Smart Classroom program. Gammadda managed to transform the lives of over 200 students today by providing a rural school with a much-needed school library. In the village of Alutwatta, Gaul, the Sri Gunananda Primary Vidyalaya stands as a beacon of hope for 275 children. With eager minds and heavy hearts, these students lacked a place to read and learn. But then, a dream took shape. A library. It was a vision that addressed a pressing need, resonating with both the community and us. On the 5th of January, the village buzzed with activity. Vernon Udugampala, the founder of the Sylvia Lanka Foundation and a resident of the United Kingdom, fully funded the effort that was spearheaded by Gammadda. In a very short time, the library was finally complete. Today, on the 5th of July, government officials arrived with great interest to witness the impact. The library was inaugurated by Yasarath Kamalsiri, the deputy leader of Gammadda.
It is said that reading can make a well-rounded person. Through reading, one gains a wealth of knowledge. By acquiring this knowledge, we can develop our nation and strive to become a leading force in the world. This is our aspiration. Students, with your new library, there's no better time to start reading. The knowledge you gain today will put you in a strong position for a prosperous future in 10 to 15 years.
The event also saw a cultural ambassador and researcher from the Clinton School of Public Services in the United States of America. Researcher Ralph Bay also shared his thoughts with those present.
And what I love about Gamada is that they help the people. Today I got to witness Gamada create a library for the community because they met the needs of the people. And I don't take being here for granted.
But this initiative extended beyond the Sri Gunananda Primary Vidyalaya. It reached 10 more schools, providing invaluable support. Notably, musical instruments were also donated to the students, adding a harmonious touch to their education.
The power of the people.
Clean water is a basic human right, but for 500 families in Galembindunuvaba, it was a privilege. Now, a new water purification system ensures a vital resource, leaving a legacy of well-being for generations to come.
Showcasing the most awesome talent from around Sri Lanka. An amazing display of abilities is about to begin in a battle of the finest that our country has to offer. Taking Sri Lanka's amazing skills to the world.
Lanka's Got Talent.
Tomorrow, 8:30 p.m. on Sirasa TV.
Welcome back. Continuing in more local news. President Ranil Wickremesinghe announced that the people of Sri Lanka received a relief of $8 billion through the debt restructuring process. The president was speaking at a ceremony held at the Kurunegala, where symbolic deeds were presented to eligible people in the district under the Urumaya national program.
මම ආණ්ඩුවක් කරන් මේ ආණ්ඩුව හැදුවේ අමාරුම කාලේ. නායකයෝ ආණ්ඩු ගන්න හොයන්න බැරි වුණේ කාලේ.
During a very challenging time, I assumed leadership and formed a government. Some leaders were unable to step up to the challenge. The person who was called to take up the job did not appear, leaving me as the only choice. To form a government, we brought together representatives from various parties. Together, we began addressing the country's problems. When the economy collapsed, many lost hope. I want to express my gratitude to MPs and ministers who served during this difficult time. Even when their own homes were damaged or destroyed, they remained focused on providing relief to the people. We have accomplished a great deal. We are now officially out of bankruptcy. Now our country has emerged from bankruptcy. We have a 4-year plan to repay our loans, offering reduced burdens and interest cuts that will yield $5 billion in savings. We are currently in negotiations with private bondholders. While they haven't reduced the interest rate, they have agreed to decrease the total debt by $3 billion. This, combined with the interest reduction, brings our total savings to $8 billion. The people of this country have received significant financial relief. We have also secured $2 billion in beneficiary aid. In short, we have saved the country $8 billion in less than 2 years.
ඒත් මේ කාලේ තුලදී ඩොලර් බිලියන 8ක් අපි බේරගෙන තියෙනවා.
At a ceremony held at the Northwestern Provincial Council Auditorium in Kurunegala, symbolic deeds were presented to 463 recipients out of 73,143 eligible in the district under the Urumaya National Program.
Sri Lanka Central Bank Governor clarified matters on debt restructuring.
We have taken a significant amount of loans from sovereign bonds totaling about $14 billion. Discussions with the lenders have taken place multiple times and we reached an agreement which was announced yesterday. The proposal will be finalized once the International Monetary Fund confirms that it meets their program parameters. The next step is to secure debt relief comparable to what we have received from bilateral agreements with Japan, China, India and other countries. The Official Creditor Committee or the OCC will have to approve it. We have already submitted our proposal to them. The OCC will review it to ensure the relief is consistent with what was offered to them. We believe the lenders need assurance from both the IMF and the OCC that the proposal is adequate. If adjustments are needed, we will make them accordingly. We aim to complete this process promptly once we receive feedback from the OCC and the IMF. Achieving this debt relief is crucial for the country's long-term debt sustainability. It will enhance the government's ability to borrow, repay debt, finance the budget, attract investments and improve our credit ratings. This is essential for the country's economic stability over the next 10 to 20 years.
ඇතුළු හැකියාව අපේ තියෙන අර රේටින් කීම් පටන් ගත්තාම නැවතත් ක්‍රමක්‍රමයෙන් උඩට යන්න පුළුවන් හැකියාව.
State Minister Shahan Semasinghe believes that Sri Lanka's entire debt restructuring process can be concluded soon.
Initial stage was domestic debt restructuring, then official bilateral debt restructuring. The third step was ISP restructuring. So we have concluded these 3 steps, but of course subject to a green light from the OCC Secretariat on the comparability of treatment, and then the IMF, we await for a green light from the IMF also to see how this common ground reaches basically how it is in line with the DSA, which is published already. So once this is concluded, we should be able to conclude, but I'm confident that we should conclude the entire debt restructuring as early as possible, which is very important for our growth trajectory.
The State Minister also commented on the debt restructuring with the Chinese Development Bank.
We have engaged positively with the CDB also. We know there is a commercial component involved with the CDB, but we are confident that we will conclude and sign MOUs with the CDB also. So I think basically, in my opinion, we should not have any doubts on that. We are engaging positively. The advisors are working on it, and likewise the co-chairs of the OCC, Japan, India and France assisted us, and the Paris Club Secretariat assisted us with its membership. China also has assisted us. So I don't think anybody has to doubt on that. We are confident that we could conclude agreements with the China Development Bank too. I mean, we cannot set a timeline for the rating agencies to upgrade us. What we can do from our end is to create the environment for the rating agencies to look at upgrade. So our responsibility is to create this conducive environment and complete the debt restructuring process in all aspects, where the rating agencies will have appetite to look at within their criteria whether we are eligible for upgrading. So I cannot specify a timeline.
Protests and union actions took place across the island, driven by various demands, including salary increases.
Today marks the 65th day of the strike initiated by non-academic staff at universities. The Joint Committee of University Trade Unions launched this strike to protest a 15% salary reduction and the lack of an increase in the monthly allowance. In addition, satyagrahas and non-violent protests that began in front of some universities continue. Furthermore, non-academic university staff gathered at the Utpalavarna Shri Vishnu temple in Devinuwara, where they engaged in rituals. State sector employees reported to work wearing black armbands. State sector and provincial state sector employees demanded that their allowances be increased to 25,000 rupees, in line with the increase in allowances of executive grade state sector employees.
As the next step, we will report sick leave on the 8th and 9th. This economic crisis affects not only the executive officers of the government but also other officers. So giving everyone an allowance of 25,000 rupees is what should happen now.
Meanwhile, the Grama-Niladhari Officers Union is preparing for another continuous strike from Monday. They are already engaged in trade union action against the non-drafting of a service constitution and the failure to increase allowances. Meanwhile, the union action launched by the government surveyors was held today for the 24th day. Accordingly, they will not participate in the development committee meetings and land plan certifications.
Showcasing the most awesome talent from around Sri Lanka. An amazing display of abilities is about to begin. in a battle of the finest that our country has to offer. Taking Sri Lanka's amazing skills to the world.
Lanka's Got Talent.
Tomorrow, 8:30 p.m. on Sirasa TV.
Welcome back to the news. Now, the new World Bank country director pledged support for Sri Lanka's economic recovery.
The newly appointed World Bank country director for Sri Lanka, Nepal and Maldives, David Sislan, called on President Ranil Wickremesinghe yesterday. According to reports, he had vowed to support the debt-trapped island nation's journey towards prosperity. The meeting took place at the President's office. The President's media division said that World Bank Vice President for the South Asia region, Martin Razor, Country Manager for Maldives and Sri Lanka, South Asia, Shiokanda, and Senior Advisor to the President on Economic Affairs, Dr. R.H.S. Samaratunga, also attended the meeting.
The ADB says that it plans major investments in Sri Lanka's tourism to enhance resilience.
We've been supporting the tourism sector since the early 2000s in the Asia and the Pacific, but it was only, I think, in 2019 that we started our operations here in Sri Lanka following the Easter Sunday attacks, which took a heavy toll on the industry. And with a focus on supporting the recovery, we started this technical assistance, or TA, which was valued at $1.5 million, which continued to help the sector build resilience after the COVID-19 pandemic and the subsequent economic downturn. The TA supports tourism resilience by supporting small-scale operators such as homestay owners and by promoting tourism as an employer of women and youth. The TA is also supporting the diversification of tourism product offerings by developing roadmaps and assisting the implementation of the new strategic action plan for recovery of the tourism sector. And we're very happy to see the numbers, how the tourism industry, the footfall has recovered very rapidly in the recent months. ADB is also preparing a project that we would like to finance in the tourism space, which will support policy actions to introduce reforms in the tourism sector to enhance resilience to shocks and strengthen institutions and potentially streamline decision-making as well so that the private sector can thrive. Investment component we have under this project, which will develop tourist amenities and conserve heritage monuments in identified destinations. And we're hoping that we can table this to our board by the end of the year.
Day 32 of the third phase of the LDAVIA program, which is being carried out for the betterment of Sri Lanka's future generation, got underway today.
Under the LDAVIA program, exercise books and stationery equipment required for a year are distributed free of charge to government schools with less than 150 students. Today's program was centered around the Padirupu and Batiklo Central Zonal Education Officers of the Batiklo district. Accordingly, school bags and stationery equipment were donated to students of Dr. Ahmad Farid Vidyalaya, Erawar Al Ashraf Vidyalaya, Walachena Hayrat Vidyalaya, Al Hasanth Vidyalaya, Manchan Tuduai Amir Ali Vidyalaya, Oddamavadi Hijra Vidyalaya, and at the Padirippu Zonal Education Office. The LDAVIA program continues to forge ahead for the future generations of Sri Lanka.
Labour has won the UK general election in a landslide, ending 14 years of Conservative government. Sir Keir Starmer officially became the UK's Prime Minister after an audience with the King at the Buckingham Palace.
The Buckingham Palace confirmed Rishi Sunak's resignation as UK Prime Minister and said the resignation has been accepted by the King. At the Downing Street, Sir Keir Starmer made his first address as the Prime Minister of the UK.
Keir Starmer became Britain's Prime Minister, ushering in a new era after 14 years of Conservative rule, following a stunning victory that brought his left-leaning Labour Party to power with a huge majority. Starmer met King Charles III at Buckingham Palace and was invited to form a government. Speaking outside Number 10 Downing Street, Starmer said his would be a government of service, telling voters, quote, "You have given us a clear mandate and we will use that to deliver change," unquote.
If you voted Labour yesterday, we will carry the responsibility of your trust as we rebuild our country. But whether you voted Labour or not, in fact, especially if you did not, I say to you directly, my government will serve you. Politics can be a force for good. We will show that. We've changed the Labour Party, returned it to service, and that is how we will govern. Country first, party second. Yet, if I'm honest, service is merely a precondition of hope, and it is surely clear to everyone that our country needs a bigger reset, a rediscovery of who we are, because no matter how fierce the storms of history, one of the great strengths of this nation has always been our ability to navigate a way to calmer waters. And yet this depends upon politicians, particularly those who stand for stability and moderation, as I do, recognizing when we must change course. For too long now, we've turned a blind eye as millions slid into greater insecurity. Nurses, builders, drivers, carers, people doing the right thing, working harder every day, recognized at moments like this before, yet as soon as the cameras stop rolling, their lives are ignored. I want to say very clearly to those people, not this time. Changing a country is not like flicking a switch. The world is now a more volatile place.
The Labour Party has won Britain's general election, bringing a new party to power for the first time in 14 years. High-profile Conservative casualties include former Prime Minister Liz Truss, Defence Secretary Grant Shapps, Jacob Rees-Mogg and Penny Mordaunt. Reform UK leader Nigel Farage becomes an MP for the first time as the party nets 4 MPs. Ex-Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn won as an independent, while the Green Party's Carla Danier won Bristol Central. Rishi Sunak said the British people have delivered a sobering verdict and the Labour Party has won the election. During his speech, YouTuber Nico Milana on the podium was seen displaying a paper with the letter L printed on it while standing behind Sunak.
The Labour Party has won this general election, and I have called Sir Keir Starmer to congratulate him on his victory. Today, power will change hands in a peaceful and orderly manner, with goodwill on all sides. That is something that should give us all confidence in our country's stability and future. The British people have delivered a sobering verdict tonight. There is much to learn and reflect on, and I take responsibility for the loss. To the many good, hard-working Conservative candidates who lost tonight, despite their tireless efforts, their local records of delivery, and their dedication to their communities, I am sorry.
Who is Keir Starmer? Keir Starmer is a human rights lawyer from a small town in southern England. Starmer has been a politician for only 9 years and since being crowned UK Labour leader in 2020 has steered his party from its worst election defeat in almost a century to become the dominant force in British politics. At 61, Starmer has a long backstory. His father was a silent, authoritarian toolmaker. His mother was a nurse with the debilitating health condition Still's disease. They named him after Keir Hardie, the first Labour Party leader. Starmer, a 61-year-old former human rights lawyer, has led a remarkable turnaround for the Labour Party, which just a few years ago suffered its worst election defeat since the 1930s. Elected to Parliament in 2015, he succeeded the left-wing Jeremy Corbyn as Labour leader in 2020 and began remaking the party. He dropped Corbyn's proposal to nationalise Britain's energy companies and promised not to raise taxes on working families. He committed to supporting Britain's military, hoping to banish an anti-patriotic label that clung to Labour during the Corbyn era. With Downing Street likely to see a new Prime Minister soon, questions about one of its most famous residents have been raised. The political world's favourite feline, Larry the cat, has lived in Downing Street for over a decade after being adopted during David Cameron's time as Prime Minister. Born as a stray in 2007, making him 17 years old, Larry was adopted in 2011 by Downing Street staff. Initially as a pet for Cameron's kids, Larry quickly became one of the most beloved creatures in Downing Street. But questions have been raised about Larry's ownership as Downing Street faces major changes in the coming days. Officially, Larry is owned by Downing Street staff, all of whom take care of him. No one individual is responsible for Number 10's head mouse catcher, who turned 17 in January. David Cameron explained during his final Prime Minister's questions in 2016 that Larry is a civil servant and not personal property. Therefore, he does not leave Downing Street after a change of premiership.
And with that, we wrap up Primetime News for tonight.
Thank you for watching. Take care. Good night.